Good evening, everybody. We are going live with what I'm calling the Sunday Roast, or the Sunday Razz, named after the British tradition of the Sunday Roast. I may do this on a regular basis on Sundays. We'll see how it goes. I'm not really sure how Razz is going to translate to a streaming format. It can be pretty mind-numbing at times, and it might be difficult to maintain any sort of semblance of a streaming thing as we go. I'm actually running two tournaments at the moment. I'm on a 3-minute delay as usual, so we'll see how things go from there. I'm going to bring up. I am going to bring up a second tournament now here in a second. The what we are running is two Razz tournaments, a 110 Razz that runs every night at 9:20 Mountain Time, as well as a Kepler fixed limit Razz free roll, which is part of the Astronomer free roll series. And we've got those running now, and we'll see how things go. Right, we're not running really well over here, so we're going to get out of that hand. I'm not even sure why we're in it at that point. Hugely different level of play between the two tables that I've got running here. The table on the left is a free roll, and for the most part, the skill set is pretty limited. I mean, there's a few people who certainly can play the game. But it's a pretty, you'll get people that really have no clue what's going on, like literally have no clue. So you sort of have to kind of watch what's happening. Over here, everybody that's paying $1.10 to get into this tournament knows a little bit about Razz anyways. They know the basic rules, and they know how to play and what to do in most situations. So it's a little bit stronger of a field, typically on the 110 side. We got a pair of deuces here showing, but we're going to check through at least and certainly call bets. Of course, we hate to be pairing on this, but we still got a really good draw at this point. We're basically ahead of most everybody on draws, except for maybe Alex, depending on what he pulls out here. I think we want to bet instead of checking through here. Just see if we can get some people off or put some more money in the pot. That's obviously not the draw we're looking for. But I think we just check through at this point. We can bet and try to put, but there's really not much we're gonna fold. Yeah, there we go. I don't think he's folding to us, whether I see the hand or not. So it's not really worth a bet at that point. Bring in with the king. That's one of the things that you hate about Razz, that you're bringing in with a card that you basically are wasting at least one card on if you try to make anything else. The 7-5. If I'm on an ace deuce h3, maybe even a deuce 4, I might, or a deuce 3, I might think about going, but 5-7, nah, I'm not really that interested. I'm sort of check dumping at this point, I think. Alrighty, we're going to fold out of both these tables. I realize I've still got a bad title up, so let me go and play around with my dashboard just a little bit as we go. The Sunday Razz. Update. There we go. So yes, we are online playing two Razz tournaments. On the right-hand side, we've got a $1.10 Razz that runs fairly regularly on Stars every night at 9:20 Mountain Time. I've actually played it. I actually used to play it. I used to be obsessive about playing this tournament every night for about, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months when I first discovered Razz. I think that I was just obsessive about playing this tournament every night. And I think I did reasonably well in it. I mean, I obviously didn't become rich. I'm not gonna. It's a little hard to become rich playing $1.10 Razz tournaments. I think that's probably, if you're looking to become rich, that's probably not the. Even if you're looking to become rich as a poker player, choosing to do so in $1.10 Razz tournaments is probably not the best way you can go. That said, it was something that I played pretty obsessively because it was a lot of fun, and so on. And then I just kind of stopped playing it because it there's I think there's a certain point with Razz. It's fun and I enjoy it, but there's a certain point with Razz where you've pretty much done it, and it's not as much fun anymore, I think. It's one of the reasons why I like the high-low games, because they're keeps you thinking in both ends. Um, and actually, it's one of the reasons why I really like triple stud, because I actually get to play the Razz a little bit, but I still got other stuff going on there that we can go. It's why I like the triple stud and the horse. Um, but Raz is fun. Raz is fun as well, and I figured for this sort of Sunday night thing, I'd give two tables. I'm not doing super hot over here in this astronomer thing at the moment. These are really good ways for people to learn different games if you're looking to play something other than Hold'em, and Hold'em's all you know. This is a great way to jump in and learn. Kind of, I would say, first look up the rules on the internet and then jump into one of these, and you can do pretty well with it. And they give you a chance to, if you get through to the final bunch. In this case, I think I'm looking at, what am I looking at here? 40 tickets at the end of all this. Here, giving out, and when you get the ticket, you get into a $2,000 free roll that's on Sunday afternoons or Saturday mornings, depending on where you are. There's two of them actually, and Sunday afternoon and Saturday morning for me, which is Mountain Time. So wherever you are, that's adjusted obviously forward or backwards. Um, and it's a really good way to get introduced to the different games without having to actually pop any money down. And you still got a chance. You're actually playing. I mean, these are a free roll, and you're not actually making any money when you win this tournament. But you're winning a ticket into a tournament where you will win some money, or you can potentially win some money. So it really is it's not play money, it's real money poker, even though it's a free roll. Um, so they're a lot of fun, and they're worth playing if you're looking to learn new games. And just to kind of have a game if you're maybe not looking for such a serious night and you want to look for something fun. Jump into a stud high low or a Razz or whatever on the astronomer side, and you've got a free night that might lead to something down the road. You never know. We got a king over here. That's obviously not the best deal. We're drawing out like crap over here as well, and we've got a fold here because we've got no chance at anything that's worth playing. Um, we're just drawing out horribly on both tables. We've been drawing out horribly since I started. So this may be a very short stream, as a matter of fact, because this one I could very well be out on the astronomer here because I'm drawing horribly at this point against all these other hands. I mean, can I even? Do I call here? I've got no equity against. Well, I mean, I'm still on a 7-6 deuce, I guess, in theory, but I need to draw to get out. So I think. I mean, it's only 282, but I think I'll put it in on another hand. And we're getting out of the Jack 9. Sorry, I should have folded that earlier. I mean, obviously folding with 282 chips. I probably shouldn't have called with the king. I guess that was my error back there, or I shouldn't have been involved in the first place with such a big pot pre. But I mean, it was a pretty decent hand, so and I'm relatively short stacked at this point, so I got to go with what I get a lot of times. And this would be probably a slightly better situation than I was in before. Obviously not a great situation, but discounting the 10, the 5-3 is not a horrible place to start in a Razz hand. So we're in. Let's you know, maybe we're playing one. Maybe we're playing one tournament now. We'll see. Right, so we paired our 5, which, for the record, is not a good thing in Razz. That's not something that you want ever to happen. Pairing in cards is never fun. At least there's no actual qualifying hands in Razz, unlike a game like Stud High Low, where you've got to have an 8 or lower to qualify for the low hand. The lowest hand, no matter what it is, in Razz wins the pot. Of course, they have to do that, or else there'd be holding over pots to the next hand, which is not terribly workable in a poker environment, really. Maybe in your home game that's going to work, but it's probably not going to work at WSOP. I'm thinking. We've actually 9. What are we? 9-8-5-3-2. That's not a horrible. Yeah, we're still going to lose it, I think, but it's not a horrible end to that hand. Yeah, I mean, I probably that 7-6 deuce hand I probably shouldn't have got involved in, but 2020 hindsight, and it's one of those cases where I was low on chips. I was going to have to get it in at some point, and that seemed as good a time as any. Just drew out badly, and that's going to happen in Razz. One of the reasons that Razz is so soul destroying and potentially mind numbing is because you get it in with hands that are good, or should be good, or might be good, as if they draw properly, and then you just draw out on crap. So we're gonna close this one down. There's not really much else Razz wise that I could find going right now. I think this 110 is probably the only other thing I can go without going into ranges that I'm probably shouldn't be playing. But we'll keep playing on this 110 for a while and see how we go. We're continuing our wonderful drawing patterns over here on the 110 as well, it would appear. So at best he's got an 86 made at this point. We would be drawing to an 87 at best. So I think we got to fold. Really? I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean he's got, yeah, well, that's going to happen from time to time. And it's a good bet by him, actually, at that point. Certainly dangerous, and I think in many cases it's going to call down. I don't really think that I recognize his name, so I'm not sure I've played with him before. There's going to be a few people in here that I've played with, I think. Although I'm not recognizing anybody particularly at this table right now. But yeah, I think for the most part, folding to his bets is not going to be a horrible thing over the course of this tournament. And again, as we watch that last hand where he hits the 65, that's a nice example of just that. Right, so I'm going to do a little bit of stream maintenance here since I'm not playing a hand, and I will see you guys back shortly on here. Well, I'm actually not going away as far as my voice is concerned, but the picture might disappear for a couple of short seconds. I'm going to do that. And then I am going to grab the 110 Razz window again. There we go. And let's try to center that and fit that screen to window. Alrighty. There we go. So that should end up being back with a 1 table on the 110 Razz. We're down a little bit in chips, but I'm still not terribly worried. We're not hitting huge bets yet. We're not getting huge hands, and we're drawing out pretty crappily. But that's the way it goes. We shall persevere and go. Razz is nothing if not a swingy game, which if you can hang on when it punches you, eventually it'll come back and reward you and give you hands like the 6-5-4 deuce one we saw over there. So we'll just hang back and roll with the punches and see what happens. Dr. Don looks like he's working on a pretty decent hand at this point. Still looking reasonably good. I mean, we could obviously have better draws on 7th over here. That's what Nico Bell's trying to... Yep, and Nico Bell hit that draw on 7th. Three 3-10, not a particularly good Razz hand. Not a particularly good stud high-low hand. Not a particularly good stud hand, for that matter. It pretty much doesn't matter what variant of stud you're playing. 3-3-10 is probably not going to be your stellar hand. You're probably going to play it in regular stud. I'm guessing just because of the pair. So, you're probably going to want to play it, but you're certainly not jumping up and down with joy at your pocket pair of threes usually in a stud game. Stud high-low, it's almost worthless. Yes, you're basically drawing to a 3 at that point, and you're looking to draw 4 cards when you've got 4 cards left to draw. That's never really a great spot to be looking at in any poker game, really. I'm going to hazard a guess. And of course, with Razz, it's just not really ever gonna work out again. You're drawing 4 to a decent down. Now, at least with Razz, the 10 qualifies because there is no qualification for the low. So it could potentially win, but you're not going to win a ton of Razz hands on a 10 high if you're hoping on that. So it's probably not something that you want to go crazy with. Deuce for 5, on the other hand, is. Now, one of the things to remember with Razz, if you play Deuce to 7 or something like that and you get worried about straights or flushes, don't worry about that with Razz because they don't care about those sorts of things. The lowest 5 cards wins the pot, no matter what color they are, and no matter whether they run in straights or not. So I think we're going to call through at least one more street here and see what happens. Deuce 4, 5, 6, we're liking this. We're not caring about the fact that we've got 4 hearts. We're going to bet through because we are ahead of everybody at this point. We are potentially now no longer ahead of Nico Bell, but I think we're still doing pretty good with our draw against all these people. We're definitely still ahead of Opus over here. We hit a pretty decent draw, I'm going to say, so we're going to bet out, put some money in the pot, see if we can either get people to give it to us without showing or inflate our win when it comes through, which I think we're going to get. Yes, we're going to get. So there we go. Ten Jack Queen is pretty much a pile of stinking dog poo in Razz. It's obviously a hand you're going to play in stud. Most likely, but it's not a hand you're going to play in stud high-low, and it's not a hand you're going to play in Razz because in both those games it's pretty much a stinking pile of dog poo. And I'm folding out of anything on this. I mean, I had to bring in there, and that was really the only action that I was ever going to make in that pot. Ten Deuce Jack, pretty much the same sort of situation. I mean, you can talk about the deuce, but again, you're looking to draw 4, and that's not really a good spot to be in, no matter what you're doing. So we're just going to get out of that. You do have to be pretty willing to fold a lot of hands when you're playing Razz, I think, to do it properly. Obviously, as you get down into short-handed, things change, and depending on the dynamic of the players that you're with, things are going to change as well. But for the most part, you're probably not going to want to be in with a ton of hands. You're going to want to be in with relatively strong hands. Certainly hands that can make an 8 at best, or worst, or whatever the heck you want to say for, a low hand game. 5-8-9. Of course, we don't care about the clubs there, but the 8-9, we're just not really going to be that interested. It's not going to win us that many pots, so we're going to get out of that. Yeah, I figured the 10-9 to get out there. The king's going to go. These two are going to battle it out. I think You're Rich probably got the best hand at this point. I would probably be looking at. Well, no, he's probably not made, or else I would have seen it. I would have expected a check raise at that point. I'm still sort of expecting You're Rich to have had the best draw at the very least. Whereas Dr. Don hit the draw, but I think if we look at the hand history, it's probably going to show us that You're Rich was working on a pretty seriously decent draw at that point. Yes, he was on a 54-21. 54-21 after 5th Street. So, yeah, I mean, he's basically drawn to the nuts at that point, and he pairs an ace and draws a 9 out. So it really was a pretty crappy draw set for You're Rich. So for the record, it's one of the lovely things about PokerStars. I'm not sure if this is going to show up. No, it doesn't show up on there or not. One of the great things about playing on PokerStars is that now obviously I don't see everybody's hand. That's obviously not the case. But when you muck a hand after you've called on the river, it always shows up. All of those hands show up, whether whether it's me or not. It always shows up in the hand history. So the way that you keep your hand secret on the river is that you don't call the other guy's bet, and when you fold, when he bets and you fold, then your hand is hidden. But if he bets and you call, and it doesn't matter if you try to muck your hand or not, it shows up in the hand history. So just if you didn't know that, if you're playing on PokerStars, that's just a word of warning. If you call down a bet on the river and then try to muck your hand, it's not being mucked. Not truly being mucked, anyways. Alrighty, it's interesting that Opus is betting so hard here, showing a 98 versus a 97, but he might just get they cov to fold, as he did. So I guess that's why he was betting so hard with a 98 versus a 97. Queen 4-7. With a bigger stack, you could certainly speculate with the 4-7, and you've only got one card that's out of range, but 4-7 is not really going to be your best speculation hand in Razz. If you're coming from something like Deuce to 7, and you might think that having a 7 is a great hand because you're drawn to the nuts with a 7, that's not really the case here, because of course the Ace Deuce 3 4 5 is your nut hand in Razz, so a 7's actually a relatively weak hand at the end of the day. So yeah, you probably don't want to expend too much effort with that. Might be a nice hand to get into with a big stack to put pressure on somebody with a small stack. But that's really the only sort of situation that I can think of where I'd be jumping in on it. This is a 2,500 chip starting stack for the record, so I'm almost back up to my starting stack, which I'm relatively happy that. I was ahead of the start stack for a fair bit near the beginning. My first hand in was an Ace Deuce 4, which is always a nice way to start a Razz tournament. Things haven't necessarily gone great from there, but it's developing into a fairly nice hand over here. A little worried about what Bodas has over here, our Mexican friend. But I think we're definitely calling through on this for at least one more street. That Jack is not a very friendly card, but the 9 up here at least gives him something above our 8 to play with. So I think, again, we're still calling through based on Jack 7 over here. I think we're definitely calling through. My drawing tonight is just a load of steaming dog poo, basically, is what's happening. So I think at this point, I've still got to draw, so I don't think I can really get out, unfortunately, as much as I would like to, considering I know I'm bad there. I had the draw, and I had to stay in to see if I get it. Now, obviously, I didn't get it at that point. I paired my 4, but it's just something that has to. So it's one of those places where you have to put money in, knowing that at that exact moment you're probably bad, but that you have fairly good odds, fairly good draws at the nuts, or at the winning hand. I shouldn't say at the nuts, obviously, but at the winning hand. So. Nine Jack Queen, steaming a pile of dog poo. I might just have to come up with an acronym for that. SPODP. Steaming a pile of dog poo. SPODP. Yes, that is an SPODP in Razz speak. I would think Jack Queen. Jack Queen and 9. These two, Opus and Dekov, are getting into a few battles. It seems like they're having some fun. Jack 5-10, we're getting out of that as well. Alrighty. Opus is pulling down quite a few pots, but now 6-3 deuce would be whatever the opposite of a steaming pile of dog poo is. I think given that we've got 2 deuces in with us, we're probably not going to go super crazy on the 3 raise, but we're definitely in the pot now with 7 coming up here, and especially the queen over here. We're definitely running this down. I love the fact that your rich is jumping in on us, and especially now that we've got this king. I wonder if I check this back. I'm going to check this back and see if he bets into me on the river. I'm hoping he bets into me on the river, because nah, he doesn't bet into me on the river. He might raise into me he might be thinking about check raising me. So I'm going to throw. I mean, I'm obviously betting there. I'm obviously never folding and never checking. But yeah, king, queen. Bye. The fold to any bet action over here is always fun. We're definitely getting out of this hand. We are definitely getting away from this hand. Alrighty, coming up for the break pretty quick. Let's do a quick review of what we're doing. This is the 110 Razz that runs at 9:20 Mountain Time every night on Stars. 30 people entered the tournament, having a total prize pool of $30. Funny how that works. Top first place is $12. Fifth place, min cash for $2.40. There's currently 29 people remaining, so one person's already busted. Registration closed ages ago, so we're pretty much done, and we're now on our break. So I am going to mute the mic and hang up for a bit and go do some custodial duties, shall we say? And I'll be back. We'll talk to you soon. And I'm back with within 1 minute remaining in the tournament. Go ahead and say hi in the chat window if you're watching. Say hi and ask questions if you like. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying I'm an expert guy to answer them, but you know, say hi and ask your questions if you like. So no surprise, we come back to the break. Opus is still getting involved in a ton of hands. It's surprising that he folds. That's not doesn't seem to be his style, but I suppose everyone's got to fold once in a while. Three king 10. That's one of those hands that you just sort of have to fold. You can having the three showing. You can sometimes use that as a bluff card. But I'm just not really liking Botas with his 5 up here, or Botas, or I'm not sure how to pronounce this, but you know, I just was figuring that I'm not really going to push him off anyways, so it's probably not worth trying to use that as a bluff card when I've got really nothing to stand on if I start getting called down. There are certainly times when you're showing something like an ace or a deuce, and you've got crap behind that you do want to raise. You do want to raise just on that one card, but that wasn't really the situation that you do that in. An example would be I bring in with the king here. It rolls around. It folds around to you're rich, for example, and he's got 4 king queen. He's always raising me if it's folded around to him at that point, because I mean I'm showing a king, he's showing a 4. He's going to raise, I'm going to fold. That's just the way Razz works. So in those situations you're obviously going to do that, but that wasn't the situation that we were in there. And in the situation that we were in, I'm simply not. It's just lighting money on fire to bet into that pot at that point. So this is the Sunday Razz. We might it might turn into a regular feature. We'll see how exciting Razz can actually be on stream. Of course, the name Sunday Razz comes from the British tradition of the Sunday roast, which I've just had a nice roast of beef with potatoes that was very 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 tasty. And so now we're doing the Sunday Razz instead. If it becomes a regular thing, we'll keep calling it the Sunday Razz. If it doesn't, it will just die a quiet death, and no one will ever hear from it again. So we could play on this with a 4-6 in the back and just see what happens on a 4th and maybe a 5th street. But the king is always a thorn in your side at that point. So you're kind of relying on some pretty serious drawing power at that point. Um, Razz is really, at the end of the day, a pretty simple game. If you've got low cards, bet hard, and if you don't have low cards, get out of the hand. That's pretty much the way you should play Razz for the most part. I mean, there are obviously spots where you can play a little bit more creatively, but for the most part, it's maybe one of the most straightforward forms of poker in my experience. Um, when you've got low cards, bet the hell out of them, and when you don't have low cards, get the hell out of the hand. That's pretty much that pretty much covers what you're maybe going to end up getting. Um, so 439 here. I think this is actually something that we're probably going to continue with. Looking at the rest of the hands, we got the ace deuce over here, which is probably gonna work. We're not hugely concerned about the jack. We're fairly happy that the 10, if the 10 thinks that he's good, maybe, then we're, yeah, okay, he's gotten out. Nice to see the ace go. No huge surprise to see Opus come in, especially with the deuce. There's no reason why he has to be super low on the two down cards. We're definitely going to go through on this and see what our next card is. Pairing the three is not a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm pretty much going to get out of this at this point. We could have, if we draw a deuce or a five or an ace or even a six, I think we might be tempted to continue again and see one more street. But that pairing that three, just you've pretty much crippled your hand at that point. Queen, queen, eight. We're not really going to do anything other than bring in and fold on this one. Folding, folding, folding. If you hear strange noises, I have a cup of hot cocoa that I'm blowing on so I don't burn my mouth when I take the first drink of it, for the record. Not that I fear there's anybody listening at this point, but who knows? Maybe there is. I think actually the first two broadcasts I did, I'm pretty sure have been completely and utterly lost to the ether because of a lack of having a certain checkbox checked in the settings of my Twitch to archive things, and equally not having another checkbox checked in my broadcast software to archive things from there. So I'm pretty sure that the first two broadcasts I did were lost to the ether. However, I think that was corrected on this one, and we'll have to see when it's done, but I think that this one is actually going to get archived and should be available to look at later on, which I'm hoping on. We're just drawing like crap in these Razz games today, so maybe the Sunday Razz is not such a good idea as a as a recurring theme. We shall see how it goes. Ace 8-9. There's a lot of low cards. The 5-4 ace could easily get into a bit of a bidding war if things go strange. I think I can get out of this. The 8-9 is just really bad backups for the ace at that point. And again, if I'm in Botas spot with an ace 8-9 and it folds around to me, I'm raising like crazy and throwing as much money into the pot as I can. But from essentially under the gun in this spot, I'm not that thrilled with the hand. Alrighty, so nickel bell's all in and doubles up for 720. Still in the game. This is one of those hands that I'm going to bring in and probably call a completion on, because the 3-5 in the background is nice enough that we go that we're quite happy to we're quite happy to go with that. The king queen, of course, is just more par for the course with our drawing stuff. At this point, I think we got to start building hands. So if we were playing stud, of course, and even stud high-low, this would actually be an awesome spot to be in. We're not in a wonderful spot in Razz because we only have one way to win the hand, and that's drawing 2 more low cards. But I mean, I don't think we're in terrible shape at this point. I think we're probably going to get a call on this bet, but I think I'm putting money in for value. There's something about the way that he's been playing in the past is telling me at this point that he's not very strong right now. He's certainly not on a 6, that's for sure. So I'm thinking that my 8 might be good. I think I'm betting for value here, folks. I really think I'm betting for value. Yeah, I'm like I said, I was pretty sure I was betting for value there. Deuce 3-8. We're definitely interested in playing this one, especially with the cards that are behind us. I'm going to raise this up. Dr. Don's really the only one that should be playing with us. Dekov maybe, but the rest of these people should be folding. Opus, well, Opus is Opus, and we know that he plays a crap load of pots. So let's. We're still pretty happy with the way this is going, so I think we're still gonna be interested in throwing money into the pot. And nothing is changing as I'm speaking these words. I think we're still wanting to throw money into the pot as much and as often as we can. I think at this point. Yeah, I mean we've just hit a very nutty smell, and I think we just want to keep putting as many chips into the pot as we possibly can. We're hoping Opus goes a little crazy and wants to raise us here. We're hoping, yeah, okay, that's not quite the case. I was hoping he'd hit something like a 7 or a 6, and was wanting to take us on. So deuce 6-3. We're obviously gonna jump in on this one as well. This is something we're obviously gonna want to play. This is one of those spots actually where, well, okay, now that Nicobel's called, it wouldn't necessarily be the case, but it would have been one of the spots where no matter what I had behind, the 3 means I would have raised Dr. Don if it folded around to me. I don't really think I'm going anywhere on this. I don't really want to go super crazy because I'm sort of semi-disguising the strength of my hand at this point. Yeah, I mean, I think that right now we are ahead of Botas for sure. Now, obviously, the next draw makes a big difference, but no matter what Botas has, our 6-3 beats his 6-4. So, at best, we are ahead at this point. So, I think we want to keep throwing money in the pot. I think, that's where we want to go. And this is that's sort of our gin card at this point. I'm gonna. We have to keep throwing money in. We can't be letting them check through at this point. I don't think getting free cards. And we're still. I mean, I suppose potentially his best hand, made hand at this point, is the 64 to my 6-4-3-2-1. So we're potentially splitting the pot at this point. I really don't think that I have any choice but to keep throwing money at the pot, especially given what he's got. Yeah, I mean, he's obviously, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a situation where, again, as I go, basically my worst case scenario at that point was chopping the pot. So I've got to be thrown in. 8 king or 8-10 queen is SPOPD, SPODP, not PDDP. Steaming a pile of dog poo. That said, a couple of dog poo kind of hands went to war over there. And certainly as Razz tournaments go on, your hands have to get, your range has to get wider and wider. This might be an example of my range getting a little bit wider. The 4-7's not terrible for start. I'm looking over here and not seeing a huge number of super low starting cards. Again, Opus Raising is like the sun coming up in the morning. It just seems like he's doing that on every hand, so we're not really paying a ton of attention to that as any sort of a tell as to what sort of strength his hand is. He's raising a lot of... Now, once fourth comes around, he hasn't been doing a lot of snap raising like he did there. And I think that we're got to get the hell out of Dodge at this point, because between these two guys, we're just not in good shape. Looks like Dekov has got his number, maybe. I can't see Dekov playing the Jack. Yeah, I was pretty sure Dekov wasn't on the Jack. The deuce is obviously an okay card, but the 8 and the Jack make it not really worth playing. Even a 7. Jack 6 deuce, I might think about coming in on. Jack 5 deuce, I'm almost certainly thinking about at least calling a bring in. Jack Queen King. Bring in fold is basically strategy on this one. This is obviously a hand you're going to play in stud, but it's just not worth anything in a stud high-low or a Razz game from my experience. You just want to get rid of it as quickly as you possibly can. If you're forced to bring in with it, bring in for the lowest amount and go, unless you're sitting at a table where you think that bringing in for the full completion is going to induce folds around the table, which isn't hugely likely and not a situation that you're going to be in a lot. But it's one to watch for, and one where you can certainly make some of those cases kind of feign that you've got like a queen ace deuce behind instead of what you actually have behind, which is steaming dog poo. In that case, my best option was to put as little money as the legal rules of the games allowed into the pot, and fold my cards as quickly as the legal rules of the game allowed. That was pretty much my best course of making the best decision. Hey, Hits, good to see you, man. The micro mills didn't go so hot this morning. I actually was in for a couple of hours and did okay. High-low is one of those streaky games where you're gonna at some point you're gonna be at and I think we were at 200, 400, and it went down to a 76 versus a 75 low hand. And somebody hitting a flush at the same time. So it was really, one of those situations where, it just happens. We're getting the hell out of Dodge on this King Queen, even though the rest of it was looking not so bad. The 6-4 deuce to start was looking nice. So yeah, it was. I think I must have busted hour and 45, hour and 50 minutes in, something like that. So, but it was fun. It was fun to go on. This 110 Razz is good. I'm sitting fourth now out of 24 people. I think we had 30 starting this one. So obviously $1 each in the prize pool, $30 in the prize pool. We're looking at $12 for the first place, which will be a nice little thing. So obviously, I had a nice little score last night with 22. I'm kind of annoyed actually that broadcast I did last night with the $22 stud high low got lost in the ether because it was kind of cool. I think that my first stream also happened to be one that I won 170. Well, I didn't. Well, yeah, I mean, I won 170 bucks. I chopped chopped at the end, so it was kind of cool with that. It's good to see you back though. I'm glad you came around and said hello for the Sunday Razz. We were serving up two servings of Sunday Razz earlier this evening. With I was playing one of the astronomer free rolls as well, but I busted out of that a while back. Doing quite a bit better in this one. We're in money position now. We're still a long way, obviously, from the money. These ones, in my experience, like I said, I used to play this obsessively back in the day for a while, and typically when I final tabled and went deep in these, it was 12:30, 1 o'clock my time that we were finishing things up, maybe going to 1:30 or 2 my time on a long day. So yeah, I mean, if we do end up going deep, it could be another 2-3 hours at least that we're hanging out here. This is a decent looking hand, I think. The nine's not thrilling, but we'll keep going for at least one more street and see what happens. Yeah, I think. Queen 10-7, we'll get rid of that. We'll dump that out. Nice change of tables going on here. So got Dr. Don hanging around, but in a different position. I don't think anybody else looks familiar from the previous table. Were we playing with Design before? Or is maybe Design listening in on the stream, and that's why they said hello and good luck when I came to the table and laughed. That could be it. If you're listening in on the stream, Design, say hello. Cool. That'd actually be kind of cool if somebody that was actually at my table happened to have stumbled on the Sunday Razz and was listening to the stream. That'd be kind of cool. So say hello if that is actually you. 4-7 Jack. That's one of those hands that you could play. Again, the seven's not horrible. It's not a great Razz hand, obviously. The 4 is definitely something that's playable that you wanna be working with. The Jack is a throwaway card, but you're gonna have throwaway cards. You've obviously got two throwaway cards in every Razz stud variant hand, potentially. So where those throwaway cards come doesn't really matter to the odds. It feels like it matters, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I mean, if you end up with Ace Deuce 3 4 5 Queen King, doesn't matter whether the Queen King came in your first two cards or your last two cards. You're still playing a 5 4 3 Deuce Ace. That said, I'm not recommending that you play a lot of King Queen Ace hands. That's probably not gonna get you very far in a Razz in a Razz game. Don't take my advice the wrong way. This is a nice looking set of suited cards. Again, if you're used to playing deuce to 7 and you're scared of suited cards or running cards, don't worry about that. In Razz, the lowest 5 cards wins, which means a 5, 4, 3 deuce ace is the winning hand, and no matter what the color, no matter whether they are in a row or not, that is immaterial in the Razz game. It's also immaterial in the low variant of the stud high low game as well, so it's worth bearing that in mind. We don't care if we have 7 hearts by the end of this hand, it still is not going to cause us any grief. We are definitely in on this. I don't necessarily think we need to go crazy. Actually, we probably should have gone a little crazy now that I look at the rest of the hands behind. But, you know, what can I say? Dr. Don having a tough decision. Detonator with the 8. It's going to be all in when they play. They're like that's a one bet and you're out kind of hand. Not surprised that the 6 came in from Carlosis. Bit surprised to see Mauricio in there with the king. Actually, that's a bit of a surprise. One would think he's got an ace deuce or an ace 3 buried with a call like that. In for penny, in for pound. Not thrilled with the 9. Corlosis is ahead of us. We're still ahead of Mauricio, but of course, again, that can change as we get deeper into the streets. I think we're definitely calling through on here. So we don't care about hearts coming through. We do care about queens coming through, no matter what the hell color they are. Now, you might be saying, well, there's a queen here and there's a queen here, but we're queen 9 versus queen 8 versus queen 6, which means we're dead, basically, to... we're dead, basically. Not to anything, we're just dead. So we're getting the hell out of the hand at that point. Shouldn't say we're dead to anything. We are simply put dead at that point when you're looking at the best hands being. Now, of course, you can always draw out of that. You can expect to draw great and expect your opponents to draw poorly, but that's a really not going to be a winning Razz strategy very often. I'm going to hazard a guess. So you probably typically, as I said earlier, it's a pretty simple game. When you've got really low cards that don't match, bet hard. When you don't have really low cards or they match, you get the hell out of Dodge. That's just it's pretty much as simple as that. If you stick to there are more creative ways you can play Razz in certain spots, but if you stick to those basic rules of play your low cards hard and get rid of cards that aren't low, you're gonna go pretty far with Razz strategy, I think. It's a nice way to kind of hone in for the record. And one of the things I talked about last night when I was doing the high-low game was how high-low is really about focusing on the low hand first and letting the high hand work itself out. One of the best ways I found to get into that mindset was to play a crapload of Razz, where focusing on the low hand was all I did for a while, and it really kind of helped me. Really kind of helped me out. Now I'm technically behind Katya here, but with the stack that she's got, I can't. I have to put her all in just for strategic reasons, I think. So I mean, I have to be forcing her to play for her life. I have no other choice at this point, and the draws were making it. We're making it exactly the way, I needed to go. I had to make her play that hand the way she did. I mean, I suppose I didn't have to. If my draws are coming out so that it's obvious that all I'm doing is handing chips to her, it's a bad way to play it. But the way that it was looking, I was clearly, she was clearly not drawing the way that she wanted to draw, and I was clearly drawing the way I wanted to draw. So I needed to be throwing money into that pot, and needed to be forcing her to make tough decisions. The pair of deuces obviously is not something we're thrilled about, but the ace deuce, you can't. It's really hard. No matter what your third card is, it's really you're wanting to hang around with ace deuce a lot. Now we're 6-3 deuce ace, which is a hand that we're definitely liking. Um, got catch it all in. Mauricio should be getting the hell out of the way at this point. Wow. Yeah, I don't think we need to put any more money in against Mauricio at this point. We're going to check through on this and see what we end up with. So 86, 320 ace. 86, 3-2 ace. I think we can value bet that. I think we can value bet an 86. And there we go. Knocked out our German friend Katya. That is a steaming pile of dog poo. We're getting the hell out of Dodge with that hand. Played triple stud with 08 Catchy yesterday. Cool. Yeah, I certainly don't want to disparage Catch's play in any way. I didn't see anything that stood out to me that was that I thought was utterly horrible. So I certainly think that I would pay attention if I saw Catchy again. Um, and typically, and this is obviously, it's weird as poker players. As human beings, you should never stereotype people, but as poker players, that's kind of our job, is to stereotype people. So I'm looking at things like the fact that she's German, and I'm thinking, well, obviously, if she's German, she must know something about poker, which is not obviously a great generalization necessarily, but it's probably better than well, if she's German, she must know nothing about poker. I guess maybe. We hate the 9, but the 3-4 is worth some time. Maymap has just come into our left. Maymap is somebody that plays this. I said that I used to play this 920 $10 Razz obsessively. Maymap used to play obsessively when I played obsessively, and is still apparently playing this tournament obsessively. So yeah, I guess there's obsessive, and then there's obsessive. A very good Razz player. I definitely don't want to try to pull the wool over too much of Maymap's eyes. He's gonna be sussing out most of what you're doing most of the time. I think, from what I recall. The fact that he's on my left is not my most thrilling thing in the world, but that's life. I honestly don't know if he remembers me or not. I mean, I played obsessively for probably 4 or 5 months, where pretty much every night we would end up at or near the final table together. Um, and very often, if one of us busted before the final table, it was the other one busting the person out. But that was also probably as long as a year or year and a half ago. And so he may not even remember who or what I am. We'll see. We'll see if his play shows that he remembers me. Definitely a fun player. Yeah, no, I agree. I quite enjoyed playing there. And like I say, there's absolutely nothing against any play that I saw. I haven't seen any play that I would really criticize here at all tonight. Been stuff that people have drawn out just unluckily. Other people have gotten lucky on their drawouts, and it's happened. But that's the way Razz goes. A lot of times I find that you'll see criticism. Um, one person will get beat on 7th Street, and criticize the other person for calling down fifth and sixth with when they drew a king and a queen or something like that, and then hitting seventh, and they end up with 6-4 3 deuce ace. Well, yeah, I mean you can say that they're chasing down 7th Street, but let's be clear, they're chasing down 7th Street with a pretty darn decent draw out, no matter what combination of that 6-4 3 deuce ace they already had. They're chasing down 7th with a pretty decent draw. So, yeah, okay, you can maybe criticize them for calling when they know they're behind, but again, it's calling on the come. It's like calling with your flush draw in Hold'em and hitting the flush. It's just the way poker works sometimes. So you should always be wary of that sort of thing, and it's not something that is really that's part of the game, and it's going to happen. Um, Sometimes you're going to draw poorly, and the other person's going to draw better, and that's just the way Razz is going to run. That's just the way all stud variants are going to run, because everybody gets their own board. You're at the mercy of the cards that you're given, and that's just the way it goes. So you're much more at the mercy of the cards you're given in studs, both because of the way stud plays, and also, of course, because it's a limit game where you have far less ability to just go, okay, well, I put all my chips in the middle. Do you want to call? And that obviously makes life somewhat easier in the. I mean, I don't want to say it makes it easier in the sort of no limit hold'em arena, but it certainly adds a very large sledgehammer-like tool to to your toolbox that you don't have in the limit games. You don't have in a game that plays out like stud. So I do like the stud variants. I wish that there was more live stud played these days. I gather years ago there was a lot of stud played. I'm a relatively new poker player. I've only been playing for really, I think, 5-6 years now. And I'd really like to see, I really wish that I could find live stud variants playing, even stud high, which is my worst variant of stud, ironically. I would love to sit down and play live, but I literally have never seen it. The only place that I've ever heard of it being played live is at the World Series of Poker, and I've never made the World Series of Poker. So, you know, it'd be cool to get into some stud high low or some Razz love tournaments, or a triple stud would just be awesome. But of course, I guess one of the things you see Omaha and Hold'em a lot in the card rooms, live card rooms, I think, because you can take a dealer that knows Hold'em and turn him into an Omaha dealer relatively quickly. Being a stud dealer is an entirely different beast, and you've got to sort of have specially trained stud dealers, and whether they'd get the support or not, I guess is the issue. But nonetheless, it'd still be fun to see live stud being dealt. I'd definitely join up and play some. We're here on a 3-minute delay, of course, so if there is anybody from the table watching the hand, I guess you're getting my information 3 minutes later, but I suppose that's life. You're hearing my analysis 3 minutes later, but I suppose that's life. If if you're caring that much, then cool. Let's chat in the chat box. 10 Jack 5, obviously there's no real value in playing that hand in a Razz game, or stud high low game for that matter. You might look at the 10 Jack as value in a stud game, but it's even going to be pretty low value with the 5 back. 10 Jack Ace, you're probably looking at a bit more value. 10 Jack Queen, obviously you're looking at value in a stud game, but in the high-low or the Razz variants, they're all steaming piles of dog poo. 10 Queen 5. I think we just discussed pretty much that hand, if not that exact hand. Excuse me. 1 second. There we go. I didn't want to cough in your ears, so I am just had to mute the mic there for a second. We are back. 10-8-3. We could play through on this, and when all we've got in here is kings, I think we are going to actually play through on this with a raised pot, just because I think that we've got, and of course I get the third king from the deck. Let's call through one more street, see what we end up with. 7, pair deuce, ace May map is still on a king high. I kind of think he's probably doing better than a king 10, obviously, back. But I could also see him making this move if he's paired as ace or as 3, so I'm going to keep going for now. So I'm now looking at a 10 made and an 87 draw. I think I've got to keep going. I mean, he might be. Ugh, the 10. That's nice to see him checking. I don't think I can value bet a 10 here. Not with his 9 showing, because he's got to essentially be playing the king to. Yeah, he wasn't calling a value bet regardless. So, I mean, I might save some information that way, but. Oh, having the queen showing. It's always nice when somebody else brings in the same card that you're showing when they're on the... when they happen to be on the right side of the deal, or however that works. You can just quietly fold your queen while they have to go through and play. And actually take a pot down with it, because that Mauricio just drew out like horribly, like just awful. This is one of those spots where we could potentially pull out a fold around. I mean, we don't have a hugely powerful hand. I don't really see Mauricio calling me down. I think I'm taking this one down. Yeah. See, that's the power of the ace showing. It doesn't really matter what your other two cards are. That's a little bit dangerous when I'm doing it that early in position. When the bring is right in front of me. But it's definitely something that you want to look at. I would have done it here as well if Carlosis isn't already completing there. I'm almost certainly completing with my ace here again, because I'm far later in position in this case. But when he completes, I don't really want. I mean, the king 8 is crap. The king certainly is crap. The 8 is passable, but barely worthy of a Razz hand. So I really want to get the hell out when Carlosis is in the hand. But if Carlosis isn't in the hand and it folds around to me, I'm absolutely playing that hand. Sadly, I didn't get away with folding out my queen this time, but we're definitely going to fold to designs We're definitely. I still haven't figured out. Still haven't figured out who design is exactly. Um, Unless it's you, Clown 999. But um, one thing I have figured out with design is that I'm not. I'm absolutely not gonna try to put anything past him. He's definitely sharp and seems to understand the game reasonably well. So I'm not. I'm absolutely not going to try to do anything too extreme or out of the ordinary against him. I am just going to play what I have and play the boards as they develop and go from there. That's one of the things that I guess. I mean, I don't know. I should probably say that I'm not an expert in any of these games in any by any stretch of the imagination. It's not like I've made millions of dollars playing Razz, or if there's anybody in the world that's made millions of dollars playing Razz, I'd seriously like to meet them because that would be a phenomenal that would be a phenomenal thing. But at the end of the day, I certainly wouldn't even put myself anywhere near best in the world or anything like that at any of these games. I'm a recreational player that likes to play all of the variations of poker, and there are certain ones that I think I'm a little bit better at than other ones, and I'll try to be pretty honest about those. The stud, high, low, and the Razz are games that I understand sort of reasonably well, I think. When I play games like PLO or PLO 8 or Deuce to 7, I will be far more honest with my skill level and ability. So, that's the way things go. So we've just been moved on our table. We're seeing a new set of players now. We're going to fold our 9-9 Jack while I look around the table, and I look. We've got design over here, 2 to our right. Got Dr. Dawn up here above that's come from the other table as well. Your Rich has come from the other table. Rat is a new player. I don't think we've played with Rat tonight. I don't think we've played with Vav Changa tonight or Gordeev tonight. We haven't played with Ebony Adder tonight either, but Ebony Adder, like Maymap, is one of the ones that seemed obsessive about playing this tournament back when I was obsessive about it, and is apparently still obsessive about playing this tournament, which is cool to see. I like, actually, the fact that I can come back here after a year, and Maymap and Ebony Adder are still grinding out the 110 Razz tournament, because it really was a lot of fun to do it and play. And again, obviously, Adder's had some issues tonight, down with a tiny stack now of 205. Must have just got decimated at some point, but never somebody that I would ever count out or ever. I would always be wary of everything that Ebony Adder is doing. Very good Razz player. Very, very, very good Razz player. And very experienced. Plays Razz all the time. Well, plays, like I say, was obsessive about it back a year and a half ago. And the first time I play in probably 6 or 8 months this tournament, and there's Ebony Adder alongside Maymap. So there's your obsessive people. Alrighty, since we got moved to this table, the dealer seems to be not liking us very much. We are not getting Razz cards by any stretch of the imagination. A 5-9 Jack is just not really anything that's going to go. And the thing is, with the 9 showing, you can't even really bluff a fold out of that, unless, again, you're right in front of the bring-in, and the rest of the table's folded to you. Then you can, when you're 9 to queen, I can probably do that and get folds most of the time. But anywhere else, you're just not. You just can't do anything with that 9 showing. Now, Deuce 5 Jack is definitely a playable hand. The Jack is one of our throwaway cards, obviously, so we're really. Um, I've always found it instructive in Razz that in a situation like this where I've got three cards that one of them is I'm considering a throwaway hand, I'm ignoring the Jack from this point out. I don't have a Jack 5 Deuce at this point. I have a 2 card 5 Deuce. Um, I still have a 2 card 5 Deuce at this point. I'm not. I'm just ignoring the Jack and the Queen. To myself, as I've got a 2 card 5 Deuce, and I have to draw 3 low cards to get anywhere out of here. And I'm going to look at the rest of the boards, and looking at the rest of the boards, I'm going to go. There's just no odds for me to stay in this pot, and I'm going to get the hell out. But in another situation with this, I might be playing a 2 card 5 Deuce and draw 3 out of that. Well, now I'm playing a 3 card 5 3 Deuce, and I'm pretty happy with going, and I can continue to ignore that Jack as one of my throwaway cards. Once the second throwaway card comes out, you have to really start to think more about um, whether you want to continue or not. Also, of course, because by the time the second throwaway card comes out, you're probably getting closer to the big bet stage, which again, you want to be. You can speculate the odd time in the small bet stage, but anyone who wants to start speculating in the big bet phase is going to be going broke in the stud games very, very, very quickly. In any limit game, very quickly, but certainly in the stud games with the extra round of betting, it will just decimate your stack really quick against somebody who knows how to bet and takes advantage of what you're doing. Ebony Adder has busted out. It's a good game. Always nice to see, as I said, always nice to see somebody who's a regular at these games. And I recognize Ebony from ages way back, and it's always good to see. 7-3 Deuce. We're jumping on that and running like crazy. I was going to use another analogy after jumping on, and I decided this could be a family show since I haven't clicked the mature button, so I wouldn't. I would just move along with that analogy. We're absolutely playing this hand. There's no way we're getting away from this. Paired 7, we're not thrilled about, but he doesn't know we're paired. He thinks that he's on a 94 now or a 9 high for sure. Obviously, we hate the Jack. We could probably credibly fold at this point and still not have our bet on fourth look weird, simply because we hit the Jack there and he's got the 96. There's a couple of aspects to the limit small bet, big bet games. You obviously want to accumulate and amass chips, so you want to win chips. You want to be scooping pots. You want to be dragging pots towards you as much as you can. But I think what a lot of players don't focus enough on is saving that small bet or saving that big bet in the spot where you could say, well, okay, let's just peel off another street and see where we are, when you really should be just saying, no, let's get the hell out of Dodge and fold these cards based on what's out there. And it's those spots where you're saving your big bet or where you check call instead of betting out and potentially ending up having to call a raise, where you're saving those small and big bets. That's really where limit small big bet games are won and lost, I think. Obviously, you want to pull in the pots, but it's really saving those individual bets. It's really where you're going to win and lose tournaments, I think. Ten Jack Queen. I talk about the hands that are good in stud that just absolutely are atrocious and suck sweaty donkey balls in a high-lower Razz. This would be one of those examples of one of those hands. There is absolutely nothing you can do with this. Obviously, there's no qualification in Razz, so this technically is still a potential. I'm obviously still can make a Razz hand, but I'm begging to draw out to a 10 high at this point, which is just never going to be a Razz hand that's of a great deal of value. So I'm really never, ever playing a hand like that. Right, so this puts us into a break. The break will start when the current hand finishes. So I'm going to click off the microphone and go and do some housekeeping business, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Later. And we're back. I've spent a couple of minutes there talking into a mic that was not turned on, so we will get back there. Very nice, couple of very nice hands there that we fooled and took. The 70s 4 obviously is a strong hand that we don't really care if they call or not, but again, it's never a bad thing in poker when you take down a pot without having to show anybody your cards. I really don't think. Looks like while I was away on break, I missed some fun, exciting trash talk at the table. I don't really understand trash talk text typing in a chat window on an online poker game. That seems rather absurd to me, but that's just me, and I have a rather absurd sense of the world and the universe. So maybe maybe it's not absurd to other people, but it is rather absurd to me typically. So, but hey, whatever floats your boat. If you wanna go ahead and trash talk on online poker, whatever floats your boat. Nine Jack 3, not really worth playing at this stage of the game. We're 7th of 12. Razz, like most stud, plays as an eight-handed table, typically. So we're at this point looking at 6 and 6 on the tables, and we will get down to a final table after 4 more people bust. So sitting 7th of 12 at this point, I'm not hugely concerned about that. I'm in a pretty decent spot. I'm not in real danger of going out badly. I think I'm definitely playing with this. I think design's probably going to respect my raise. And I think at this point we're both at this point, I'm still ahead of his best hand, so I think I'm continuing to bet. I'm still ahead of his best hand, I think. No, I'm not necessarily ahead of his best hand at that point. Ah. That, ladies and gentlemen, is Razz in a nutshell. That is just going to happen from time to time. Ace 8-9. Yeah, I'm not really interested in getting into a huge battle with him again. I mean, even still, it was a big loss, but I'm not that. I'm not that low particularly. It's not like I'm in danger of being knocked out with a single bat or 2 bats. I've got to really get into a hand and do some pretty serious betting before I'm in danger of putting myself out. So yeah, we'll just sit back and see how the tables progress from here. Seven 3-3. Could play that at certain stages. It's probably not right now at a stage I want to play. Just to recap what we're playing here. There's 30 people in this $1.10 Razz tournament. It's a regular thing every night at 21:20 Mountain Time, 9:20 p.m. Mountain Time. That runs. I used to play it obsessively. I don't play it nearly as obsessively anymore, but for a while there, I played it literally every night for like 7 days a week for 6 months. Just because I was trying to figure out Razz and play it and have some fun with Razz. I don't do it quite as often anymore, but it's fun to jump in and do it. I've already seen a couple of familiar faces from the time when I was obsessive about it a year ago, so it's nice to see other people are obsessive. There's five places paying out. 12 people left now. Min cash of fifth pays out 240, and first place pays out $12. So not too bad on a $1.10 investment. We'll see if we can get to the top five from here. We have 10th stack at the moment, which is not great, obviously. Number 12 is a absolutely tiny stack that really is in huge trouble at this point. Maymap is right below us with 3380, and we're going to be exchanging places fairly often as blinds and or as brig-ins and stuff go through. There you go. Actually, he's just changed spots with me. I've gone to 11th and he's gone to 10th. That's going to happen fairly regularly as we go through and we take down small pots. Things are going to move back and forth. But I'm not hugely worried at this point. I've still got enough chips that I can get things in with a reasonable amount of equity when I have a good hand. But I don't have enough chips that I've got to start thinking about, or I don't have so few chips that I got to start thinking about throwing my chips in with any reasonable looking hand like a 5-6, for example. So it's an okay spot to be in. Now, Vove to our left here is one of the ones that is close to us in the standings that we sort of need to watch. Now, this is actually a good opportunity to take a few chips off of Vove for us, and I think we're going to be in this pot just to see how we go. We're playing this one to the max. I knew he was going to push me down with that. I'm going to go have a look at what he had, but I'm going to guess it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't obviously great. I might have been ahead the whole way. He was deuce 8-4 to start against my 3-4-7. Then he went 7-6. I went 6-8. His final card was a 10. Yeah, so I mean, hand was pretty straightforward. Pretty much played itself. That way. So those things are going to happen, and it's going to happen the other way around. He's gonna hit them against me, where I'm gonna be one card that just doesn't draw. That's the way Razz and all stud variants sort of work. Sometimes you can draw it well, sometimes you're not going to draw it well, and deuce 4, 10, we're going to play this. We're going to see what happens. We got to be a little bit more of a stack. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean we want to be reckless. Well, obviously, it doesn't mean we want to be reckless. But it does mean that we have more chance to play some pots and see where we get. Because, being cautious is fine and dandy, but you don't win any pots by folding 3 cards. That's just not something that's gonna advance you very well. And obviously, you don't win a lot of pots by throwing money in the middle when you don't have a strong hand either. But things develop as you go through, and I'm running. It's a 9. Yeah, I don't think it's worth betting, but I'm probably calling at this point. I cry call a bit, but I think if I'm hitting a 7 here, I'm calling for sure. 7 or an 8, I'm probably calling for sure. The fact that I'm on a 95 is really the only reason that I'm thinking of calling. And I think I am, because he could be. Yeah. Alrighty, 254, 2345. We're doing good. We don't care about the straight, obviously. Yeah, and he's going to get rid of his hand. We probably could have gone before that, but Ace 8-5. That's definitely a hand that we're probably gonna call a single bet with. We're definitely continuing at this point, and we're throwing money in the pot because really, Dr. Don shouldn't be calling at this stage. Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't say shouldn't. You should never say that, and they can do, what they want, obviously, but probably shouldn't be calling with those boards. And I think, again, 7-3 deuce, we're going to call. We're not going to hang around much because I don't really want to feed chips to Dr. Don. And that's just looking like a draw that's not going to run. It's not going to run well. We're going to bring in fold on this. King, Queen, 10, obviously, in Razz. Nothing. I think the design might be just somebody who likes to use text chat to get under people's skin or try to get under people's skin. It doesn't really work terribly well with me usually. It's hard to get under somebody's skin when what you're doing, when they think what you're doing is absurd. So like I said, we're just bringing folding this stuff. We'll let these two fight it out for whatever they want to fight it out for. I'm now sitting 9th. There's still 12 left. 14-10 is the smallest stack, so Gordeev has managed to pick some back instead of busting. Stud games can certainly have very long lead-ups to the final table and on the bubble, but as the bets start going up, it really, there's a certain point where it just can't sustain anymore, and people just start dropping like flies. So I think we're going to call through on this since we can get through on a single bring in. The queen's obviously complete crap for us, but it looks like we're checking through. We've now on a 5-4 ace low, which means we're in theory drawing to the nuts. Well, we're still in theory drawing to the nuts, which means we're not really ever going anywhere in this hand, and we're probably throwing money in based on what I'm seeing elsewhere in the draw situation. Yeah, we're, again, we're throwing money in there for one of two reasons. We either just pull in those 600 chips and say thank you very much. I'll put those 600 chips in my stack, and I'll stack them up very nicely here. Or we are generating value when they call for us because we're pretty sure that we're playing with the we're pretty sure that we're playing with the best hand at that point. So it's really a place where you can't afford to not put chips in. Um, I don't really want to be pushing Rat around too much. I've been keeping an eye on Rat, and I'm not a skilled player, and I think he's going to play. I think he's going to know if I'm trying to push him around. So I'm really only going to be playing against Rat when I've got reasonably strong hands. Pretty much my same strategy at this point with design. When we get into pods together, it seems to me, and maybe this has just been a matter of circumstance or whatever, but it seems to me when we've gotten in pods together, he's very persistent, and he's going to be calling the bets that I make. So I want to make sure I'm relatively strong when he's doing that because I want to be, obviously want to be there if he's going till the end. I want to be there till I want to be the one with the best hand, and I want to have the equity confidence to keep throwing those chips in the pot as well. So 9 King 5. I would positively raise this if it had folded around to me in this spot, but in this situation, it's a clear fold. Um, so an ace, a jack, 8. Now that's a very pretty hand that we would absolutely play in a high-low game. In a stud 8, we would be all over that. Obviously the clubs make a big difference. We're obviously not thrilled. Um, we're obviously not thrilled about the 8 ace for our low hand, but um, with people playing for both high and low, you actually end up with worse low hands in high-low than you typically do in Razz. So I'd be all over this in high-low, but in Razz, I think I'm folding. I think I'm folding it down. Three 10 queen. The three's worth potentially using as a bluff card in certain situations, and this is the right sort of position spot to be making that sort of move in. If only one person had called behind, or if their hands were weaker, I might have thrown in a completion there. But with 2 calls on the bring in, and with this 4, I'm the it's not worth me throwing in. If it's just the 9, or if it's a 9-8 maybe, or a 9-10, I'm definitely throwing in the completion there just to see what happens, because a lot of good things can happen when they just fold their cards and the pot gets pushed over to me. That's really cool when that happens. So you want to try to do it, but when there's 2 in there, and when the really feels like the 4 is trapping a bit, and even if he's not, it's starting to feel a bit like the 9 has got fairly decent ones behind too. So yeah, it folds to me with that 3. I'm 100% raising. One person calls the bring in with that 3, and I'm 95% 5% raising if they've called showing a 6 or higher. Um, the odds of calling go down much quicker as more people come into the pot at that point, and as when the 4 comes in there, the odds go down very fast to a very low number. So 8 Jack Queen. We're done with the hand. The hand is over before it even begins when you're playing 8 Jack Queen in Razz, ladies and gentlemen. This is certainly a game unlike HoldEm where you really do have to play your hand a lot more. They say that you can play No Limit HoldEm and never really play your own hand, and that's true in many cases. You play your position, you figure out your opponent's tendencies, and you play against them, and the cards that you have in your hand at that point make far less of a difference. That does not work, especially in limit games and especially in stud variant games, simply because